That was a mess. So I finally figured out a word that can describe these little segments before the opening of the video, so I'm going to change that in the time codes down below if the video does have them. They technically could be considered a cold open, considering the term of what it's meaning, instead of an introduction, because sometimes I make jokes or try to. Yeah. Intro. Hello everyone, my name is Jaden, and welcome back to Sweden, PewDiePie's country, home of meatballs, IKEA, and a satanic cult that burns people in bear costumes and makes really weird statues with little girls' decapitated heads. So we're going to be talking about the two Ari Aster A24 films that are out, the feature-length ones, not the short films. He made some short films like Something Strange About the Johnsons, which... that's a trip. We're going to be talking about Hereditary and Midsommar. I've been trying to get into like the mood to watch this, and I finally found the correct mood, so I watched Hereditary and Midsommar, along with some other movies, but those are going to be separate videos or separate reviews, you know. So let's start off with Hereditary, because I don't really need to do an intro, other than that big Halloween mess. I'm probably going to try again, and hopefully be much better at it in the Halloween, like, Part 5, the finale special. So basically, Hereditary in a nutshell is, oh, a mother dies, and everyone is sad. And then they start to realize, yikes! This family tree is a mess. So this movie stars Toni Collette, also in Knives Out, The Sixth Sense. Alex Wolff, who is in the new Old movie, which is the M. Night Shyamalan movie, and then My Friend Dahmer, which is actually a pretty good film. Gabriel Bryan, who was in The Usual Suspects, Dead Man, Little Woman, Miller's Crossing, and then Millie Shapiro, who used to play Matilda. Wow, did she take like a big 180. It is a really well-made film. I think it's fair to say this is a perfect film. Perfect pacing for 2 hours. I feel like they got everything pretty much done like that. So I'm going to bring David Lowery into this because I watched one of his other films. I've seen 3 films by him, which was Pete Dragon, A Ghost Story, and The Green Knight. Something that Ari Aster does that David Lowery is not good at is closure. So David Lowery does this thing where he puts the ending, but he makes you think about it, but he doesn't tell you what's going on. Like The Green Knight, I was confused if the whole arc was over, or... no, I was confused if something happened or not, because it just ended like that, which was one of my biggest problems with Candyman 2021, sorry. But Ari Aster, he closes the film with a beautiful shot. He leaves you questioning. He leaves you wanting more. Okay, so David Lowery, he wants you wanting more, but he wants, like, okay. So David Lowery's films, the cliffhanger ending they do makes you want to get a sequel. But Ari Aster makes you want to get more of his filmmaking rather than a sequel to this project. Like, for instance, this one, it ends on a it's not even a cliffhanger, but it leaves you with a conversation afterward, but it also gives you closure for everyone else, whether it means death or not. It lets you bring it up to the imagination, but he's not one of those annoying directors that's like, it's all up to you, I'm not gonna say a thing about it. Luckily, he gives his own input into, like, fan theories and stuff, which I think is pretty good for a director to do, at least give closure, which I like how A24 movies do, but some don't. A Ghost Story, The Green Knight, no closure. David Lowery, just, there's so much, just like 2 more minutes. Ari Aster is just so great at making movies. This and Midsommar, but I'll get to Midsommar in like a little bit. Hereditary. So I'm going to praise Ari Aster and the performances and cinematography all after that. But he knows how, considering this is his first feature debut, I don't know how he did it. The pacing is incredible. You're not bored for a second. It leaves you wondering about things that might get answered or might, once again, leave up to the imagination. But he doesn't, like, override that. Everything just has a perfect amount. We have a perfect amount of this character. You have a perfect amount of that. But then, the ending, of course, it leaves you wanting more of his directing style and these actors, but it just won't always work that way. But this movie, I don't know how to like, talk about it without spoiling it, but I'm gonna try. Because this is one of those ones where, like, watch it. I do think this is a perfect film. The score is absolutely incredible. The last 3 to 4 minutes of the last 5-minute stretch is just beautiful music. But so horror movies do this thing. I call it the last half-hour rule, where everything goes down in that last half-hour chunk. You know? Like, it starts off with something decently huge happening, going off into a spiraling down to, like, just the main battle. This movie doesn't have an antagonist. I think it's fair to say, at least I didn't see an antagonist visibly, you know? But they do explain some things in the end, and the cinematography, it's absolutely incredible. Ari Aster is really good at thinking up transitions. There's the opening shot, I believe it is, where it's this going into the house and it's turning, and then it goes into the dollhouse, which turns into the actual house, which is just, it's absolutely incredible. It's incredibly well written. It feels like a real family. You're stepping in on them. Nothing is too over dramatic. I don't know how anyone could laugh at this movie, like saying the acting's bad or anything, because Toni Collette is absolutely amazing.
Might be something you want to say.
Yeah.
Like what? I mean, why would I want to say something so I could watch you sneer at me?
Sneer at you? I don't ever sneer at you.
Oh, sweetie, you don't have to. You get your point across.
Okay, so fine, then say what you want to say then.
Peter.
I don't want to say anything. I've tried saying
Okay, so
things.
try again, release yourself.
Oh, release you mean?
Yeah, fine, release me, just say it. Just fucking say it.
Don't you swear at me, you little Don't you ever raise your voice at me. I am your mother. Do you understand? All I do is worry and slave and defend you. And all I get back is that f***ing face on your face. So full of disdain and resentment and always so annoyed. And I know you're in pain, and I wish I could take that away for you. I wish I could shield you from the knowledge that you did what you did. And what a waste. If it could have maybe brought us together or something. If you could have just said, I'm sorry, or faced up to what happened. Maybe then we could do something with this. But you can't take responsibility for anything. So now I can't accept. And I can't forgive. Because nobody admits anything they've done!
She delivers some lines, just wow. Ari Aster also likes to have crying women being held by their significant others. There's a lot of death in this movie. No, okay, this movie has a lot to do with grief, and I haven't had to deal with that stuff recently, but it's just heart-wrenching to watch. But it's one of those things where if you've experienced it enough, then you would feel the sympathy and pain. But since I haven't experienced it, I didn't cry, but I still felt absolutely awful. It's just, everything is just amazing about this movie. Alex Wolff, who I first saw in My Friend Dahmer, which is an incredible film. I believe it's free. I'm not going to leave it in the link in the description. I might leave it in the comments if I remember. But it is just... He did such a great job in that movie, and this one he did even better job. I think I heard he went by his character name, but he actually, for one of the scenes, he actually did break a bone because he wanted to do it by himself instead of doing, like, a stunt thing. But this poster, saying Next Generation's no, but it's just, there's a lot of hintings, and there's not even a plot twist. This movie is so unconventional in the best way possible. It just, I don't know how to praise it even more. So you're not going to be shocked by the rating I give it, but that's in a second. Millie Shapiro, who was in Matilda, she does a great job of being horrifying. I can't even make the noise without getting But there is a point in this film where Ari Aster lets you know he's not messing around. And, If you haven't seen it, watch it. This is definitely one of those ones where it's like, you just gotta watch it. The set design is immaculate. The story is actually very interesting, considering it's quite simple in the first half, and then it just spirals into madness. But it's, yeah, it reminds me of, considering what I haven't seen it, but considering what I've heard from Haunting of Hill House, it reminds me of, like, the feel. I've seen, like, the first 20 minutes of the first episode. It reminds me of the feel of The Haunting of Hill House, you know? It just leaves you in this weird state where you don't know what you want from this movie. It is so unpredictable, so well written. Everything. This is a perfect movie. This is more drama oriented than horror, but it's more like realistic fiction horror, where there's a good chance it can happen, except for like the last 40 minutes. That's depends on what you believe in. But the first half hour, like the first hour, can actually happen to people, and you can just feel that. Considering the short films and the 2 films that Ari Aster has made, I mean this in the best way possible. The man's got to get some therapy, man. I love his films, but like, he can get to a point where you consider, is this a little too dark? I don't know. I'm not complaining though. He is incredible at making movies, and I can't wait to see more from him. So, if you don't know my rating system, an 8 out of 10 to a 9 out of 10 is a golden ticket, and a 9.5 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10 is a trophy. Now, this is a very important moment on the channel, because Hereditary is the first real 10 out of 10 in a review. Congratulations, Hereditary. You deserve it. And I'm also pissed that Toni Collette did not win an Oscar. And I'm not even gonna forget the fact that they didn't nominate Edward Cullen or the Green Goblin for The Lighthouse either. I'm not the biggest fan of The Lighthouse, but I still respect it much more than I usually would have, because it's just so great. I love Robert Eggers. I love A24 movies, is what I'm trying to say. So now let's get into the next one. But, just a quick warning, I recommend the next one, but a male character does get raped under the influence of drugs, and like, it's also, Ari Aster messes with your vulnerability, so if you are vulnerable, don't watch his movies, because they can definitely push some people over the edge. So now it's time for my review of Midsommar. So, I'm using the words of James A. Janice from Dead Meat. Midsommar is Ari Aster's sophomore project and stars Black Widow's sister and a bunch of other people. Let's start off with the fact that their American accents are incredible. I mean, I thought they were all American after seeing this and realizing she's the girl from Black Widow. I wasn't sure what her real accent was. The Irish guy, it's just, this one, it's much harder to watch. It actually took me 5 hours today to get through it, compared to the maybe 2.5 hours, because I have ADHD and stuff, so it's going to take me a little bit longer to watch it. But like, this movie made me just step out at some points, because it gets a lot at some parts. It can take a lot out of you.
That's what he said, right, guys? Because of gay.
So this one, it's not as perfect as Hereditary. It is 20 minutes too long. No, okay, I wouldn't say it's not too long.
That's what she said. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just feel like it didn't have as much, like, it didn't have the same, it wasn't as well paced as Hereditary is what I'm trying to say. It's definitely a small downgrade, but it is, like, it's not a sequel or anything. It's still an incredible film. Same thing about The Lighthouse. I'm not the world's biggest fan of The Lighthouse. That one's very polarizing for me, but this one isn't as polarizing because the cinematography is incredible. The music, wow. He really chooses some great scores, and like, he just great composers for this film. And this is another one about grief. There's an even cooler transition in this one. Well, not even cooler, but there's another very cool transition in this film near the beginning. there's a lot that goes on in this film. It turns out it's multi-genre. It goes from a mystery to like a cult to it's not sci-fi, but like fantasy and just drama. It's a whole mess of genres, and I love it. I'm so glad that I got to see this. Like, I get to see this great filmmaking and craftsmanship from Ari Aster after seeing the mess of what Malignant was and after watching the bore of what is a ghost story. It's not as great as Hereditary. I'm not the biggest fan of Black Widow. I really didn't like the sister character, but I feel like Florence Pugh did a really good job in this film. Everyone really did a great job. It's just, there was something about it that it just didn't feel right compared to Hereditary. It's like, of course, going to be compared to Hereditary. I honestly feel like this movie messed me up more than Hereditary, which is probably why it downgraded. But the gore in this one, wow! When there is some, it's a lot. There's some beautiful imagery, and he likes to just mess around. But he seems like a really cool, chill guy. I'd like to... Ari Aster does seem like a really cool guy, and it's like, same thing with James A. Janisse from Dead Meat. How can someone who talks about something so brutal be so wholesome at the same time? It just seems like a fun conversation to have. Same thing with Tarantino. Tarantino just seems like an interesting conversation. That's on my bucket list. Have a singular hour conversation with Tarantino. But Midsommar is... It is very cultish. It takes a lot with grief. It makes you realize some things. And there's a lot of twists and turns in this film. I don't want to say much about it. But all the performances were great. It was really well written except for one kill, which doesn't make any sense. Like, how would that guy still be alive, you know? But some scene, it makes you very uncomfortable. And I love how some of the effects work. Like, the visual effects, I guess there's a flower that, like, pulses with her heartbeat. There's some overlaying effects. Then the cliff scene, yeah. That one. Yeah. So, I don't want to talk about much of this one because this is one where it's indescribable. You just watch it for yourself. Hereditary can praise it all day, but this one I still have some minor problems about. Like, pacing is just not all that good, and I feel like he hangs on for shots way too long at some points, way longer than Hereditary. So yeah, I don't really have much to say about this one, unfortunately. So yeah, Midsommar, it's getting a 9. It's getting an 8.5. I prefer Hereditary. And it's just, there is, like, it just... got there, and then it didn't. But the ending, it leaves you up for, like I said earlier, it leaves you with more questions than answers, but you still get some amount of closure. But it's definitely not like a, yeah! Female empowerment! It's, because the guy was, once again, raped. But it's just, I think it's a descent into madness. But I don't know. Those were my opinions on Hereditary and Midsommar. I don't know how long I talked about it for. But, yeah. So, I got some homework to do. And that piano segment's going to take a little bit to edit. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay golden, everyone. And see you guys this weekend for a ghost story. Toodaloo!